Call to order this special meeting of the City of Navasota City Council at 4:31 p.m. Item 2, remarks of visitors, any at this point?
No, sir.
Okay. And we'll go to item number 3, workshop to discuss the City of Navasota's strategic plan for fiscal year 23-24. Mr. Weeks.
Mayor, members of council, you'll remember back in March-April timeframe, we started working on the strategic plan for 23-24. We contracted with consultant, Opportunity Strategies. Alicia Cook came in. We held a town hall meeting on April 4th where we received some feedback from citizens and community stakeholders. And on April 5th, we had specific stakeholder meetings, what we call focus groups. And then she came back 2 weeks later on April 18th, met with city staff. City staff talked about core values. We talked about some of our projects going on and kind of the ideas we had for strategic plan. And then on April 19th, we met with the consultant, and this is where we developed 7 goals to be accomplished over the next 2 to 3 years. Within your packets, kind of highlighted some of those goals. We kind of want to first start out is some of the core values. And we talked about core values. We try to come up with some type theme, some type acronym. And so based on some of the words and ideas that we came up about what is our core values, we created the core values as Thrive. So Navasota thrives. And so with the T being teamwork and collaboration, and each one of these has a couple bullet points kind of explaining what that means. Honor and integrity, resilience and adaptability, inclusivity and diversity, vision and progress, and then empowerment and engagement. And Lupe, if you'll go to the next tab. And then from that, we created what we call a one-sheet strategic plan. It identifies the mission statement of the city, which didn't change, as well as the vision statement. Identifies the 6 of the core values that we talked about that thrive. And then we identifies the 7 goals, which included planning and economic development, marketing, communications, quality of life, staffing, human resources, facilities and buildings, and infrastructure. And so please understand, when we talk about these goals, these aren't goals specific to a certain employee or department. So these encompass multiple departments. So when you talk about human resources, it might just be human resources, but there might be other things involved. Talk about quality of life, it's not so much all parks, there's other things that's involved in that. And so I want to walk through each one of these and talk to you in depth about the goals. At any time, I'll go over each goal and kind of talk through that. And then this is a time to get some feedback from council, because the idea is to bring this back for adoption. The budget has been prepared based on these goals. And so we want to have some discussion. So goal number 1 is planning and economic development. First goal is to develop a comprehensive plan for for City of Navasota that includes zoning and subdivision ordinances, as well as housing development and recruitment plan. You remember, a comprehensive plan is about outdated. Everything west of town, we did not project for single-family housing to be in that area. And so we are in the process of trying to get a grant that will help us start the new comprehensive plan, which will include zoning ordinance changes, which could affect how subdivisions are built and those type of things. So that's goal 1.
And just a point on that comp plan we have now was developed, I believe, in 2015. So it's
2015 to 2025. So it's
definitely time. Yeah.
It's definitely time to look at that. The second goal was to hire a Main Street director, which would be being part of the Main Street program. Another one was develop a 10-year CIP and infrastructure plan. And then the other goal was focus on workforce development, concerns, and solutions. And those were identifying number of stakeholder meetings hosted or participated each year, the percentage of unemployment at the year end of 2023 compared to the percentage of unemployment year end of 2024, percentage or number of students or graduates who stay in Navasota or work locally after graduation, which we'll work with the ISD to collect that data for both 23 and 24. Increase sales tax by 10% annually. So looking at what we'll do in 24 and 25, and then increasing hot funds by 5% annually in 24 and 25. And secondary priorities, if budget allows, look at a Parks and Recreation master plan, as well as update the thoroughfare plan. So at this time, kind of go through, like I said, in the budget, we're identifying the 1.1, the comprehensive plan, that's in the budget. Part of the Main Street program for goal number 1.2. The Main Street, in order to be a Main Street city, there's a new process you're going to have to go through that has not opened up yet. We have contracted with somebody to help us go walk us through that application process. But once we are, if we ever get the green light that we're going to be a Main Street city, part of the requirement is to hire a full-time person for that position.
What does the Main Street project get us?
So I'm going to let Raina answer some of those questions because she knows off the top of her head, I'm sure, a lot more than I do.
So one of the big things for the Main Street City is grant opportunities. So we receive some emails from Texas Downtown right now, and a lot of them present different grant opportunities. Some of them are available to the city, such as the downtown revitalization grants that the city's received in the past. But also there's ones that are specific for Main Street cities, and then also just the resources available. We receive a bunch of resources right now from Texas Downtown, but that just opens up a whole nother listserv, more connections and networking for the city. And I think Lupe might have some to touch on too on the planning and development side of some of the perks of being a Main Street city as well.
Yeah, so one of the big things that Main Street offers, or designation offers, is a full-time architect that's available for discussion with any of the downtown business owners or whoever's in that Main Street district. So, a lot of times, especially in smaller cities, we run into, you may have a small home and, mom and pop based business, and they want to do a big expansion or remodel, and they just don't know all the codes and regulations. I mean, if you guys ever look at those code books, they look like dictionaries. So a full-time architect available to speak to business owners and building owners to give them like a good idea, or at least point them in the right direction on what they need to do. So that's just another asset that they provide.
And it also puts us on the map. We get a nice, sign and dedication. And just more name for Navasota out there. So those are the things.
Wouldn't you also say that it would also bring our downtown retailers together in a more organized fashion?
But we would hope that would be would be a goal. Yes, sir.
Because right now everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and for different projects that are happening, it would kind of give better coordination.
Correct. The other thing is, most of all of our downtown events, most of all our events that we throw are downtown. I know that Ryan's had movies at the park, which isn't downtown, but most of our events that we sponsor are downtown, and so the Main Street director would help oversee those projects, as well as work with the merchants for their projects, and able to be another conduit of advertising and getting those events out and broadcast on advertising.
Brenda, I'm sorry.
I'm assuming that, and I'm saying this because I've actually looked at the numbers, so it does, that the city benefits far more financially having someone do that than it costs us to have them.
I have seen that and heard that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question, and this is a weird question, I assume, where does the funding come of the grants that they would offer? Where are they getting their money from to give grants?
So from the state usually. So the state can allow, but you have to be a Main Street city to get it. So similar to, there are some grants that you have to be certain population or socioeconomic status, depending on, and also, some grants are only for coastal cities. So it just depends on what the grant is, but mainly comes from the state. It's just an opportunity that only those Main Street cities get access to. Did that answer your question, council member? So the 1.3 is develop a 10-year CIP infrastructure plan. So that's something we've been talking about. Ideally, we started working on that for the streets. And so as we built in, looking at facilities, what we need for future and facilities. So anything $5,000 or more, meaning any heavy equipment. I'm not looking for your rolling stock, your police cars and those type of things, but there are things to start thinking about and trying to put in a 10-year CIP so we can start programming for those and when we need to move things around and when we need to start thinking about big projects. And then
For those that don't keep up with acronyms,
Oh, yes,
Capital
CIP, Capital
Improvement Plan.
And then the last one, the 1.4, focus on workforce development concerns and solutions. So these are things that our Economic Development Director, Raina, will be working with and still is already doing these things, but to start tracking it as well. One of the things, as you know, hot funds. I mean, how do you increase hot funds by 5%? It's tourism, so getting the tourist out there, any special events that we may have, trying to get people to stay here, as well as, hopefully in the near future we'll have another, at least one hotel for sure that's looking at coming here, and hopefully at some point, and maybe Holiday Inn Express, we've heard that they have been green lighted, that at some point someone wants to build one that they've been given the green light to come here. So those type of things. So as new hotels come in, as well as fill in the vacancies and overflows, during football games in College Station, we do see some uptick in that as well.
And the Renaissance Festival.
And the Renaissance Festival, yes. So does anybody have any question about goal number 1? All right, I'll move on to goal number 2. Marketing communications. Again, this was to facilitate a two-way communications with people who live, work, and play in Navasota and offer those residents and visitors quality family leisure opportunities and events. Create a 2-year marketing plan with priorities outlined is 2.1. 2.2 is evaluate resident communication tools such as Blackboard Connect and through surveys as well. 2.3, outreach to the Texas Historical Commission, Brazos Trail, and Navasota Grimes County Chamber of Commerce regarding heritage tourism events. Survey residents on how they get their information and other information collection is 2.4. 2.5 is implement a plan to host town hall meetings 2 times per year. 2.6 is launch several of our websites and begin managing those. And 2.7 is reevaluate community events and their budgets. So most of those are all being outlined and is somehow in our budget for this coming year. One of the things was to create a 2-year marketing plan prior to our previous marketing communications director leaving. That was what she was working on. So with a new person coming in, we're just going to be we'll be behind another year. So that person coming in will start working on another 2-year marketing plan. Evaluate the resident communication tools. So that was something right now that is held by Public Works Department. Blackboard Connect, that's the reverse 911 where you give their numbers and we can actually call people and let them know, hey, we got a power outage or water leak or gas outage, something like that, or something major. Most of those, over half those numbers that are in the system are bad numbers, and so the idea is once the new marketing communications person comes on, this will be transferred over. It's more of a communication tool, not a Public Works tool. Public Works will be one of the users of the system, same way with police department, fire department, but it needs to be housed in the marketing communications department. And then the other thing, survey residents on how they get their information. So within the budget, one of the items was Flash Vote, which is a tool that we're able to reach out and do quick surveys, multiple surveys throughout the year, and it's also done in Spanish. And so these will help figure out a way, if we want to see how people are getting their information, how to better communicate. Implement a plan to host town hall meetings. So try to have one in the fall and one in the spring is the idea to start out with. The one in the fall kind of geared around budget, so we can go out, talk to the community, and then get some feedback from the community as well as what they're wanting to see for next year. And then spring, talk about upcoming events as well as get some more feedback from them. And when we talk about town hall meetings 2 times per year, so that's 2 times per year, but it might be multiple locations. So it's not just one it might be 3 in the fall and 3 in the spring in different areas of the city. It should just be all centered around the same type concept.
And they need to be separate, kind of served by different things type thing so that we don't get the same people coming in with the same.
Yes, sir. So the idea,
Okay.
idea is to do different locations throughout the city, and not here at City Hall. Try to get out into the community. So maybe at some churches or the Progressive Center.
More random rather than scheduled to be the first Tuesday of
Yes, sir.
the second month or something.
The idea is to try to find a day that when people don't have an activity or the school's not got, have a big activity or there's not a big community event. I know it's hard and
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
To back up, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
On the Blackboard Connect, and
Yes,
I know
sir.
that's a call out, is there any way to text out?
I think it does. There are systems that do that. Yes, ma'am.
There is an option.
When you set it up, you need to set it up to have it text your
Have it
phone.
text you instead
So
of
you
call
can also get emails, text, and calls.
Oh, okay, that's
Right.
cool.
And
Is there
it-
any way to do that in a survey style? Because I get surveys all the time via text message where they go, "Do you do this?" Reply yes or no. Thank you for participation.
And I didn't actually look at the
Civic
flash
Plus.
vote to see exactly how it works, but I think it works similar to like that too.
That
So,
would be a good way to question the vast majority of people.
okay.
How do they send out the survey
I,
to people to find out how they communicate with them?
I'd have to look. Again, that was something the previous marketing communications director started. And like I said, it was a lot cheaper than the $20,000 per year that we got quoted before. And so I'll just have to look at it. And again, once the new marketing person comes in, we'll try to, and it'll be something we bring to you.
We had a group out of College Station that supposedly were doing that for us back, 5 years ago or something, 5 or 6 years ago? And I don't know that it ever came to fruition.
Okay.
So you probably do various ways of getting the word out on
Yes, sir.
something like that.
I made a note here. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So is this something that we have now? Something that we're using?
Blackboard
now?
Connect, we do.
Something that we're using?
That's what you get, a notification.
Yeah, so when we were flushing, we flushed the fire hydrants and we created skating rinks.
Yeah, which is also known as Notify Nav. Is that the same?
No, sir.
Totally different?
That's not, the Notify Nav,
If one go to sign up for this, I guess is what I'm asking, because I've had a lot of people ask.
I would not suggest anybody signing up for it right now.
Well, I would like to sign up for it.
I'm saying, because I don't know for sure we're going to keep with Blackboard. That's going to be something we're going to evaluate.
Well, okay, but we don't know when the new whatever it is that we have will start.
No, we haven't. But Jennifer can get that information too.
Okay.
On the community events and evaluating them in their budgets, is the aim of this to make most of these events revenue neutral, or at least as close to that
That
as
is
you can?
council, that's something that's why it's on here, reevaluate community events and their budgets. That's something that council needs to make a decision on is, do you want to continue losing $300,000 on Texas Birthday Bash? Or do you want to increase the ticket cost? Those are things that you need to think about. In addition to that, you also got our Sounds of Summer. Sounds of Summer, really, those are geared toward our residents. Where Texas Birthday Bash, some of our residents do come and purchase tickets and do partake in those events, but we are reaching out to a broader, those are to try to get people into Navasota from outside of Navasota. So those are things that you need to think about, and that's what we're talking about, reevaluate. If you like how it's going now, then we keep doing how we're doing now. It's just, that was a discussion that we had, is to have some further evaluation on what you want. And I think what I kind of heard from council multiple times is, let's not look at any new events, let's work on what events we have now and make those a little better. And so that's like, for instance, I'll give you examples. So Parks and Rec, Ryan is instead of doing Kid Fish, we contract that out, we bring a contractor in, and it just hadn't been that great the last 2 years. Of course, like this year, it got rained out. But we're bringing that in-house and handling in-house. Well, one of the things we're going to make it better, we're actually going to look at expanding it and doing it multiple times a year, and also having the Kid Fish event. Also within the budget, we've talked about putting a pier at Patu Pond and that. So again, talking about expanding events that we have now. And then launching, so we've launched the Navasota, Texas and the tourism website. I don't really have an idea of where we are on the EDC yet.
That'll be complete by the end of the year.
Okay, so, but once the new marketing person comes in, that'll be something we'll start trying to tidy up and make sure that, I know the department has been working really hard to make sure their pages have been updated and the content addressed. There are some areas in the tourism we know need to be addressed. And again, that'll be something that we, meet with the new marketing person and try to come up with a plan about how to address those issues. Other questions on goal number 2?
No.
Goal number 3, quality of life. So I know this is something that we've been talking about quite a bit, is trying to bring back some quality of life to create, enhance, and improve program offerings and recreational facilities. So I know that several of you have been involved with trying to recruit and figure out a way to get either a Boys and Girls Club or a YMCA. It's mainly been geared around Boys and Girls Club. I know that the mayor and myself and some other staff members and community members have been meeting with Caldwell and how they worked with Brian to start up a Boys and Girls Club. And so it's an ongoing process. It's not something that we can just start up immediately. And so, trying to identify the location and what that location is going to be is the big step. And so that is in the plan here, and we already started working on it, to offer at least 2 new programmings per year, to offer at least 1 event per quarter, which we already do. I think the reason you put that in there was to continue offering those events per quarter, and then to add or enhance park or recreational facilities once a year, either playground equipment, dog park addition, those type of things. To outreach, connect, and network with outside organizations for programming opportunities, life skill classes, those type of things with Navasota ISD, and evaluate our outreach efforts, awareness of Parks and Rec program, and make appropriate changes. So as I mentioned, within the budget, there's several capital items. We've got the expansion of Mance Liscombe and Cedar Creek Park, which includes an accessible playground and splash pad, a parking lot, some trail system, pedestrian bridge, and that's what we call Phase 1. So that we included that in it. I know that the Parks and Rec Department actually included some enhancements, or actually some repairs and much needed rehab to our municipal pool. So plastering, decking, fencing, some things related to the changing room and restroom facilities in there. And then also a pavilion, restroom, parking lot at Hillside Park, as well as the pier at Patu Pond. So those are all CIP projects that we're looking at, and we'll make a decision on next spring. And then the other piece was talking about programming, and so we have a lot of use right now at the Navasota Center. The Navasota Center, we need to make sure that the people that are coming in to provide services, that either they're covered through our liability insurance or they have to purchase their own liability insurance for whatever they're doing. And so for it to be under our liability insurance, they need to somehow be connected with the city. Either we're contracting with them or they are a part-time employee. And so we've been working really closely with a lot of the opportunities that are there. I know that Ryan's put in their budget the Mommy and Me, the Daddy-Daughter Dance. There are a lot of different programming ideas that he's had. Movies in the Park will be continued, not just that 1 month during National Parks Rec Month, but he's looking at doing it multiple times throughout the year. So there's a lot of things. So those things have been included in the budget to address as part of goal number 3. Anybody have any questions about goal number 3?
I'd like to see on that last one that Parks and Rec working with the library on a lot of those programs. I know that the library's been very active in these programs, and I think Tiffany started a lot of those programs that we're talking about for welfare and rec, or for Parks and Recreation when she was running that back several years ago.
Okay, so do you think on 3.6 we'll put in there Parks and Rec and library programming?
Library programming.
Yeah,
okay.
No, because they're already doing a lot of programming there.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the YMCA, I believe that College Station has just signed an agreement with the YMCA to put in a YMCA in College Station And they have emphasized that it will be an area YMCA. Now, what that means, I don't know.
Okay. I'll check, I'll reach out to College Station and,
I'm sure the
Nah.
facility will be there, but
okay.
I wonder if that means that if you're not a College Station resident, you could still attend, because a lot of them are limited to the city
Right,
residents
right.
only. But that still wouldn't benefit a lot of our people because they don't have the ability to get
Get
their
there.
children
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
so it's only gonna be a partial benefit, but
Yeah.
let's see what the extent of that is.
Okay, I'll
It's
reach
not
out.
gonna help the kids after school,
Correct, yeah, that's kind of what the Boys and Girls Club was
Yeah.
kind of centered around.
but it might introduce like recreational swimming or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know what they're gonna do with it. They'll be starting a big fund campaign.
So goal number 4, staffing, develop a staffing,
Can
plan.
you back up a second,
Oh,
please?
yes, sir.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Can you go back to when you said something about the Navasota Center, that if someone use it, about
Yes.
the liability insurance?
So, I'm gonna defer to Carrie.
Yes, sir.
So liability insurance, can you explain about so the reasoning we need for, if they're using it to provide the liability insurance?
Is that for classes or for rental?
It's for, so you gotta understand, so the people using it, they rent it to be able to provide, services there.
So what would happen if somebody's using the facility of the city and, if there was an accident, somebody got injured or there was some property damage, the liability insurance would protect the city from being responsible for that. The claim would be made, on the user's liability insurance, just to protect the city in terms of any, monetary loss or, property loss. So it would be something that would be of benefit to the city to make sure that the city was, covered.
And it's not you wanna rent the Navasota Center for a party. This is, you wanna rent the Navasota Center to.
For profit.
For profit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say that would,
Yeah.
that would
stop everybody.
disencourage
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Why would you not need it if they rent it just for a party, whether they
Don't
were
they
gonna?
sign waivers on?
Yeah, because there's
things like
waivers.
that?
There's a signature pay, I can't remember, but there's a form in there that they sign.
There is, and I think the philosophy is that, okay, if somebody's gonna use it to make a profit, run a business, then they need to be responsible for that aspect of the business. Most business owners will carry liability insurance just for those kinds of situations where they're, they have a business that's ongoing, and that's just one of the costs of doing businesses that, they really shouldn't be able to piggyback on top of the city to avoid that particular cost.
Or,
required to have it as an artist when doing murals. I have to have my own
Sure,
liability
it's very
insurance.
common.
and the idea is so that a person trying to earn a profit is not using taxpayer money for that purpose. And so, let's say, Jane Doe is good at providing birthing lessons and wants to provide that service to the community. Doesn't expect anybody to pay. Well, we would probably pay that person $25 as a part-time person, come in and let them teach the class, because we don't have that capability to provide birthing classes. We're not the expert for that. So with that, they would be a part-time person. And so it's putting people part-time as a employee that would be covered under our city insurance, because it's not for profit purposes.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
It's what I do for a living, and so we make everybody provide insurance. So I'm just curious why there's a
So
designation.
it's very expensive to be able to require everybody out there to provide insurance. And if it's something council chooses, I mean, you're gonna run some people off. I mean, so for instance, so the Boy Scout groups, the Boy Scouts, we allow them use of facility, and exchange. We entered into an agreement with them, and that agreement is, hey, we get first right of refusal for any of your scout projects. For instance, Kiwanis is looking at wanting to provide that land to us at, hardly any charge at all for the land. Well, there's a cost to the city if we want that land, and it's going to be, hey, we got to tear down the scout hut. Well, that's one of their projects, is tearing down. They're taking that responsibility, so we don't have to spend $15,000-$20,000 to tear down a scout hut. And we get other benefits too. We get volunteers from the scout group. They're huge on helping and participate with trash off events and those type of things. So with them, they're a nonprofit. We're not requiring them because they're not making a profit from the services.
Councilmember Foltz, here's another aspect of this is that if somebody is using a facility to operate a business, then typically the governmental immunity that the city enjoys would not apply. And so if it is a governmental function, a community service, a recreation service that is typically provided by a city, then there's some immunity under state law. But if it's a for-profit entity using the facility for their own private purposes, then that's the distinction. That would fall more in the proprietary area of the law in terms of whether or not the city would enjoy any immunity from a lawsuit that was filed against the city. And so that's another aspect.
Yeah, so my thinking is it's a nonprofit organization that's using the Navasota Center, and they go in and we say, don't stand on the cabinets. They stand on the cabinet and the cabinet breaks and injures them, then they would have the ability to sue us anyway, but they would not necessarily have any coverage for their nonprofit status. Clearly the thing's broken, don't stand on it. So then your insurance would cover that, yours being the group's.
Right.
But you're saying that we're just waiving insurance if it's a nonprofit.
I think what I'm saying is that you would in that type of a situation, you're providing a community benefit. You're operating that facility for a community purpose that would be covered. You would have governmental immunity in that situation, unless it's one of the exceptions to the Tort Claims Act. I won't dive into the weeds on that, but so I think there's a difference in terms of whether or not you're allowing somebody to operate a for-profit business on a city park, Navasota Center, something like that. So in that situation, it would be questionable whether or not the city would have immunity. And so I think that is the reason that the insurance requirement kicks in. But if you're saying, hey, we're going to provide this recreational opportunity, a swim class or something like that, as part of the city's mission as a governmental or public entity, and the city's property and grounds are used for those purposes, then that would fall within the coverage or the immunity provided by state law. So I hope I'm being clear on that, but I think that's the distinction that's being drawn. Proprietary versus a governmental.
Yeah, I'm just trying to educate myself a little bit more.
And also
they can
remember,
sue, but
anybody
there's not
can
gonna be-
sue. That doesn't mean they win.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. If they wanna spend the money on an attorney to file a lawsuit,
So you have a situation where somebody wants to, let's say, give art lessons, maybe watercolors, okay, we have a lady that does that. And she'd like to make a couple bucks out of it, but that's not the most important part. She's not incorporated, she doesn't have a big business or anything like that, but she'd like to be paid for her time. And she comes to the city and says, okay, can we set this up in the Navasota Center? What would be the possibilities, the preferred things to get around some of these?
We
So-
compensate her.
So I'm going to compensate her, and she can choose to take the money, or she can donate it to her favorite charity, or whatever. But we're going to put it in as that she's a part-time person.
Part-time employee.
And again, the expectation is not going to earn over $600 a year, so it's not going to be a 1099. There's not going to be
Right.
tax
They call us
consequences.
starving artists for a reason, Bernie.
Yeah. So, but that's how we're going to, and we're in the process of putting a policy together, right? Yeah.
So what happens if that same lady says, well, I'm going to make $1,000 because I'm going to do this event 45 times a year?
So
Does
so we-
something change?
So we do have, I mean, again, there are some people out there that are making a lot of money, and there's some issues about that because they don't provide any insurance, and so they're going to have to start providing some insurance. because they do charge a lot and they are making a lot of money, or find another location. Again, we can't have stuff like that being done on taxpayer funds, using the facility like that.
It's something too that they would be aware that they know they need to have anyway. And
Yeah.
Just,
as a standard in the industry.
just another quick question here. Just like a church uses the Navasota Center on Sunday mornings, what would that affect them?
What does the policy say about that?
Yeah, so I think we're not charging at all, right? Or unless they pay full. Yeah, they're paying the full rental. It's just like they're as though they're renting it. So they fall under our insurance.
Okay.
Such a short term.
So we don't get a cut of the collection.
Now, Bernie.
And there are
I'll be
other-
sure to put that in the budget.
There are other places that are doing this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A lot of people that they don't, they don't do a lot of rentals to their center. It's programs out of the center. So.
It's a fairly common practice in bigger cities. Like you'll see, like Bryan College Station, they have openings for classes, fitness classes, and whatnot. They pay them like $12.
Yes.
And that way they're covered by city insurance.
Yeah, so when you go out and you look at employment, whatever career opportunities, you'll see part-time, and it'll list it all down through there, just like we do for our lifeguards type thing. All right, any other questions on this one? All right, staffing. So assess current and future needs of personnel by department, including internships, a recruitment plan, looking at local and regional academies, create a recruitment package, informational, improve employee benefits, with top priorities being increase the TMRS pension contributions from 5 to 7% with a 20-year retirement, and then add stipends for certifications and miscellaneous designations and qualifications. So some of that's included in the budget. So to go from 5% to 7% with 20-year retirement is about $500,000. And so it wasn't something that we could afford this year. That's really really nice, expensive item. And then on secondary priorities, the budget allows is evaluate leave time and increase if warranted, and consider health insurance for retirees. So on the top priorities, we did add the stipends and certifications. That's in the budget. That was our last workshop item that you asked me to bring back at a future council meeting. So plan on having that on the September 25th. Evaluate leave and increase if warranted. So again, last workshop we talked about some different leaves that really doesn't cost a lot of money because we already budget for employees to be able to be here. So the catastrophic leave pool, as well as parental leave, and then one other one, certification pay. Tuition reimbursement. So again, some of those have been included in there. We have not looked at consider health insurance for retirees. Again, once you put retirees in there, then there's a whole other piece because you have to get an actuary to figure out what that amount, because it's a liability that's got to go on the books. We continue to work with, I know that our Economic Development Director, Raina, has a lot of connections with Bush School, so we continue to have that relationship with Bush School and reaching out to them. We did program money in for internships, as well as we included in the budget 9 new positions. Just want to remind you too, once tonight when we go over the water and gas and sewer rates, as part of the study that we had done for a utility rate study, we looked over a 5-year period and actually put together a staffing plan for Public Works, and so that included supposed to be a water person every year, wastewater person every other year, and the year that you don't do a wastewater person, you put a natural gas technician on staff, and so that plan's already been put in place. As we look at public safety, we programmed in there. Now we're actually going to have 3 firefighters on each shift, which again is still below the standard. Hopefully, by using part-time, we'll be able to get to 4, which is the current standard. And we have 3 shifts, so we'll have those shifts fully serviced to be able to provide fire safety, as well as the police department, including traffic enforcement unit, which will, my understanding, it's actually 2 people. But it'll take some time to be able to get the vehicle here, to be able to get it installed and everything. And so, again, addressing the staffing plan is going to be an ongoing, every year discussion that we need to have. Any questions on that one? Goal 5, human resources, develop and plan to attract employees, leaders, and train them and ensure retention. So we're going to look at improving the new hire onboarding process. We went to the revised new website, and part of that was we were able to create forms, and so we got the application process. So that's up and going, so we've got a little bit better application. But then once the applications come in, trying to look at the process for how those will be tracked, as well as providing timely feedback to candidates to improve our chance of hiring. So one thing on certain positions, especially if they're public works in nature, it's really hard to get a good candidate in now. It's unreal, the people it's just hard to get anybody to apply. And so if someone comes in and Public Works sees, hey, it's a good candidate, they can hire them on the spot, pending, background and drug testing and those type things. And so don't have to wait till we get a bunch of candidates in. They can start going through that process immediately. And so that's one way that we can hire employees very quickly and get them on board, as well as improve the board and commissions member onboarding process. If you remember, we don't have job descriptions. We kind of, when you come on, you kind of learn by baptism by fire. And so you get up there and you do your classes and you jump right in there. And Councilmember Harris, you know how it is. Most of those, we met, for nearly a day and went over orientation. The boards and commissions, they don't have that luxury. We don't do that. And so the idea is to put together a program so that a new board member, when they come on, they know what their responsibilities are, as well as some of the training that's required. And so that's something that City Secretary's office is already working on, and moving forward with that. And then revise personnel policies for PTO, paid time off, or public safety. That was a discussion that we had. So not only did we look at public safety, but we're going to be looking at the entire city. The employee handbook was done back in 2021, and working with legal counsel even today, we noticed some changes that need to be made. So policies that you approve now will be incorporated into the new handbook, and then we'll be bringing back to you various pieces of the handbook, so we can finally get some things addressed in the handbook that are outdated, and then we need to talk about, as well as having discussion about any paid time off. Any other questions on goal number 5, human resources?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I noticed the ad in last week's Navasota Examiner paper about the city was looking for new employees. Is people knocking down the door to apply for those jobs, or is it?
So that is just one area that we advertise. So we advertise on our website, which gets sent to LinkedIn, which gets sent to the Examiner. Most of the time we put in TML. And then if any department has a specific area that they want to put it in. So for instance, the marketing communications, they have an organization called TAMIO. I can't remember what it stands for, it's an acronym. But we put it on their website. I know that the building official, we put that on, I'm looking at Lupe. Building Officials of Texas website. So we use multiple avenues other than just the Examiner. Examiner is just one piece.
So I
Government
guess
jobs.
Governmentjobs.com, which you got to remember, once we put it on any of these platforms, Indeed will pick it up and automatically put it in Indeed. And then we've got our new
EDC.
NavasotaJobs.com as well.
And Workforce Center too, I think, probably.
So I guess, what I'm trying to find out is people applying for the jobs.
Yes and no. Depends on what job. The lower grade the job goes, no, sir. I mean, yeah. Yeah. And you know, and what we find is you will explain to them, you know, there's certain jobs you can't have any criminal background. So any position within parks and facility maintenance, you have to have you can't have anything in the background at all, period, because you have to go work behind the police door over there, because that's where a lot of our mechanical things are located. And I'm not going to say it, I don't know what CJIS stands for, but CJIS.
FBI.
Yeah, FBI. Yeah, some.
Just throw out FBI. It'll be
Yeah.
good.
Alphabet letter.
Yeah. So if they run your background, I mean, you can't have anything. And even so, here's the thing: with that background, it comes back whether it was what do they call it.
Misdemeanor.
Yeah. It's even if it was way back 25 years ago, we still don't allow it. And so we try to explain that to applicants when they come in, and then you go through the hiring process, and you're like, yeah, we want to hire you, and they're like, oh, by the way, you know, do you have anything in background? No, nothing bad, you know. But it turns out, you know, we've had one they got arrested the previous week by our police department. I mean, it's hard to get applicants.
So they're
yes,
familiar with the system.
Yeah, they're but it is, Councilman Harris, it is hard to get applicants, and this is even with our pay increase. So the idea is not just the pay increase, but also all the other type benefits that we can provide. Because I was looking at a sign the other day. I mean, we increased our minimum pay is $15. Well, Buc-ee's is now paying $17. $17 an hour.
Trying to get somebody to work outside when it's a heat index of 122 is also very difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe after the weather cools off, more people will go. It's not so bad.
Right. So, any other questions?
You got drug tests too.
What drug tests?
Tends to.
So goal number 6 is facilities and buildings. Construct, renovate, maintain city facilities based on current and future needs. Of course, the 6.1 had to do with public safety. The top priority is identify available land for public safety facility, identify funding mechanisms for that. Secondary priority is design and construct and develop a maintenance plan. And then 6.2 is all other city facilities, do a future layout of City Hall, develop facilities master plan, which includes Navasota Center, swimming pool, Horlock House, library, animal services, fire station, vehicle services. So a while back, the mayor put a committee together of Mayor Pro Tem Gessner and Councilmember Fultz, along with staff. We've met one time. We did come up with a conclusion that it's probably best to keep the police department here in City Hall. It's just more accessible to people here in the downtown area. And then just let's look for right now. Let's look at a location for a fire station. So we identified two locations in town. And so after the first new calendar or fiscal year starts up, that's what our fire chief is going to be working with myself and the group about identifying which one of those locations is going to be the most economical location to house a new fire station. Because we have to find a location first, identify the location, secure the location before we can start design. And so the idea is just then start designing. And then once, hopefully, at some point, construction costs start going down, then we can look at when we're going to do construction. We did have the facilities, it was a facility study that was done earlier, I guess it was last fall, and so we have the results of that. Part of that identified all these facilities that we mentioned here about trying to do some upkeep to it. Of course, the municipal swimming pool is one of the most apparent ones, because trying to get the pool ready this year, we noticed some major issues with it, and then now with a possible leak that we hopefully will identify by the end of this month, because we have somebody coming out toward the end of the month to be able to identify that. We'll hopefully have an idea of what that's going to cost. Navasota Center, main issues there is HVAC issues, and so making sure that that's up and going. Porlock House, Public Works is working on the new roof and painting of that. So hopefully, when it gets a little cooler, we'll be able to get that finalized. Library, of course, the library was earlier was needed a new roof, is what we thought, but then we found out not so much a new roof, it just need to be fixed correctly. And then we had some sewer issues this year, so trying to work out those as well as the fire station, vehicle service, and animal services. I think once we identify the location for the fire station, the idea is once the new fire station's built, is then look at maybe vehicle services and public works, not the yard, but public works themselves, to move over to the old fire station, and that way just do some renovations to that, because it's not somewhere where they'll be housed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But if they need a place to be able to eat lunch, there's big enough room there. They need a place to take a shower, an appropriate place to take a shower, and especially bathroom facility as well. So those are the ideas of how we're going to address facilities and buildings, and that's trying to come up with a plan of what's the priority for those. Is right now identifying the fire station location, and then addressing the municipal swimming pool and the library is the top ones we're working on in this current year budget coming up. All right, we'll move on to goal number 7, infrastructure. So infrastructure, that is streets, water, and wastewater, and natural gas. And so you can look through there where we talk about maintaining what we have for the streets, water, wastewater, natural gas, and then repairing infrastructure for those items, and then any new construction. So currently right now, staff's already working on identifying streets for next year for our street maintenance program, as well as what streets we're going to need to do in a new CIP further out, and what that's going to look like. We'll continue working on this. The idea is to continue looking forward. Part of that 10-year capital improvement plan, the CIP plan, is going to be putting together a plan that addresses streets, water, wastewater, and our natural gas system. And then, of course, equipment acquisition, mobile data terminals for the police vehicles, updating, maintaining vehicle equipment, replacement plan, as well as citywide cameras, and the fire department's wish list of having a ladder truck. And so on the citywide cameras, that's something that the chief and I are looking at. There's a new system out there called Flock. Yeah, so Flock, it's a cheaper way to put cameras in locations throughout the city that are used. You can either tie them directly into electricity or use solar powered, and using Wi-Fi for the service to be able to get that, and ideas at some point to be able to bring that into a monitor in dispatch, and so we can have those. The other thing is, recently there is a website called livetrains.com, and a person has reached out to me. There's train enthusiasts that like to look at trains all day, and so there's a couple of websites out there. They would love to come and put a live camera here in Navasota of our trains, and so that anybody can go on there at any time and see if a train's coming and what's going by, and actually go and look at past videos of it. So that is something that we'll look at.
New ladder what?
New ladder truck. Yeah. Any questions, concerns, other than adding the library?
The idea of having the cameras around town cheap, if we had those would be a partial solution to our problem with the railroad
Yes,
tracks.
sir. Yes, sir.
To have them so that we would know which crossings were closed at various times.
Yes, sir. So the idea is, so we were thinking it'd be 3. So we do 3 cameras. So if a resident on our property owner on Washington will allow us at the top of their building. We could point it so that we could actually get 3 crossings off that location, one at Blackshear and then the other one down at the spur. I think those 3 cameras would be very beneficial to us.
For information, I saw something the other day that we have talked about impact fees to pay for some of these things. And in California, in some of the places around San Francisco, the impact fee for a single family dwelling is $300,000.
Well, we're not California.
Not California.
We're not California. So council, so, you know, I came to you back, we did a presentation, council asked me to bring something, to the workshop on impact fees. And so you approved it in the last budget, to move forward with that. I chose not to move forward with it. The reason is, we heard from a lot of developers. You're going to lose out on some developers. They're not going to want to come here. Because the reason they're coming here is because other places are charging the impact fees. When everybody else has impact fees, then we need to actually maybe at that point look at it. Or it could spur more development here because they don't want to pay the impact fees. The way that I think there's ways around it that we need to start thinking about is let's look at revising our ordinance and require concrete streets. That is something council really needs to think about instead of asphalt. Look, we are very lucky that we've got only one developer that has done asphalt streets. Developer Jim Hassel's put all concrete out in there. My understanding, Pecan Grove is looking at doing it. When we met with Chandler Arden with Altamira, part of that agreement is that you're going to need to put concrete streets out there, and the reason is because you're looking at wanting to get some TERS money and possibly doing a public improvement district out there. Well, that's the offset we get. So there's ways that we can entice developers to come here by doing things that impact fees do, but we do, that is one thing that I think we really need to think about. I know you talked about sidewalks on both sides. I think it's more imperative that we need to think about concrete streets as opposed to focusing so much on sidewalks. Sidewalks is good. I got it.
And you don't live in a neighborhood that has no sidewalks.
I do. I have, so on mine.
You have sidewalks.
So I have sidewalks on my side, but not on the other side.
Yeah, it's important. I wouldn't say more or less important in my mind. But here's a question for you. I've heard you say that many times. When do we do it? Why can't we just do it? Why can't we just say you got to have concrete streets?
So the idea is to bring it back during the
Bring it.
conference. All right, we'll move forward.
I imagine that's the way it's really going toward in other communities.
With a concrete sidewalk.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, there's probably ways you can work with the developers and with the possible incentives or.
But yeah, definitely, I think that's something if I could give any recommendation is to do that.
Incentive fee, that's the encouragement.
Yeah.
And none of the hybrid stuff, I think is what we've, so the hybrid stuff is where it's, can't remember what they.
The cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, so we want everything, don't do the hybrid stuff, go straight for concrete, no matter what.
I would love to see some of that impervious that goes through. That'd be awesome.
All right, any other questions on the strategic plan? The idea is to bring this back as an action item on your September 25th council meeting. I will make that one change then. Mayor, that's all I got.
Okay. Adjourned.